So let's give it a go. So Giulia, can you tell us about yourself and your family, your profession?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, thanks, Kinia, for the opportunity to kind of tell my story and be a bit of a advocate for the program and your company. So yeah, my name is Giulia Brutesco. I'm a professional engineer in environmental engineering by education. Started my career in the steel mill and have worked in progressive roles in associations, so industry associations. So very much regulatory work, policy, advisory, government relations, all that sort of thing. And I am a proud mom of two little ones, 3.5 years old and 8.5 months. They definitely keep me busy, but certainly when I first became a mom, it was something of a it turned my life on my head. It was something that was so incredibly joyous, but at the same time, it was this brand new world that I had no concept of. And so having been so career driven, it was quite interesting to all of a sudden have your priorities kind of just shift in literally a moment and be completely lost. And like, how do we, where do we go from here? So I'll turn it back to you, Kinia, in just a moment. Yeah. But yeah, it's certainly that's sort of where I found myself, and one of the reasons I had found the MoMBA program.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I met through an Ontario Societies of Professional Engineers event, right? And that's how we got to know each other. Perfect. Well, thank you for that introduction. And you are on maternity leave right now, and you joined the MoMBA program a couple of months ago. So how did you make the decision? What was the trigger point where you decided, I don't want to do this alone. I want a community, a process, a structure, and I trust this company enough to give them my time and money?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a great question, because it took a little while to kind of think about all the things. And of course, being in a space where I felt very lost and honestly very worthless, it was kind of like, how do I know this is going to help? And so, as I started to, chat with you, Kinia, and you explored a little bit of the program with me and talked about some of the components and really what the end goal was, it really struck that motivation of like, what, I'm going to do this. This is something that I think is going to, this is just what I need, right? It's a process in a little package of, here are all the components of life. And, these are all the big things that you kind of have to figure out how to manage. And here's a whole bunch of tools on how to do that. And then here are a whole bunch of women that are also going through the same thing. It was a very welcoming process.
Yeah. So since you're talking about the process, and there's a lot of process driven people in this group, am I sharing my screen? I'm showing the journey, right? Is that what you're seeing right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what has been the most impactful for you so far? Where do you feel like you are on your journey in the MoMBA program? If there's anything you'd like to speak to, and what has been a big trigger point for you and very valuable?
Sure. I think the, sort of the first exercise of the 25-year vision was huge. I think a lot of us can relate to this. We're kind of just going through the motions every day, getting things done and getting to the end of the day without really understanding, well, where does this take us? And so taking that time to kind of sit back and think about, okay, in 25 years, what do I want life to look like? That was a huge exercise. And then, of course, sitting down and evaluating my values. Like that was a harder exercise than I thought it should be, because it's like, well, but this is how I operate, to actually sit down and assign words to that and actual meaning to the things that I do every day, the things that I feel every day. I found extremely valuable.
Absolutely. And how's the community helping you get there? Because it's not just me, but there's the community, there's content.
Absolutely. Yeah, the community's been great. There isn't one supportive or insupportive person in the group. Everybody is, on their own journeys, but we all share very similar, similar challenges. And there's just a lot of positivity, and it really makes you feel like, you can spill your heart out, or share your biggest, brightest news, and somebody's there either way, cheering you on or being there for you. And having the content and sharing content, talking about ideas about the content is extremely valuable, because you're not just left to, be within your own personal sort of mind space, you have that reality check. So that's been super beneficial.
Thanks. And, a big part of this is leading yourself through the investment. So I don't talk about the investment online unless we evaluate it's a fit and there's a positive return on investment, right? Because I found that many women in this season of life, when their finances are strapped, they might self-select, they might think, this is expensive. And a lot has to do with their money mindset. So how did you walk yourself through the decision that it was a good investment in you, that even though you are on maternity leave, that the finances they can feel a certain way? How did you finally pull the trigger and decide the return is bigger than the money that I'm going to spend?
Yeah, no, and I think it's a great question, because I know everybody's going to be thinking that. For me, it was I think a number of things. I was, one, trying to figure out, I was on mat leave. I actually had lost my job just before going on mat leave, so that finance question was huge. But then, starting to think about it in context of the bigger picture, it's like, if I can show up every day, in my own household and be a positive influence on my husband, on my kids, everybody's thriving, I'm happy, they're happy, the rest will come. Right. So it really is a small investment now for such a huge long-term gain. And that's, that was sort of my trigger point, is like, okay, it's, yes, this is going to feel really awkward right now, but you know what? The moment it happened, it was kind of like, okay, all right, that part's done. All right, let's dive into this. Let's get it done. And so then you forget about it. And then it's like, yeah, I'm here, I'm learning, I'm improving already. I've, like I said, I think I've been in the program maybe 3-4 months, and there's already so many big changes that I've made that I'm really excited about. And you know what? I'm going to earn that back probably tenfold easy. So that was sort of, that was my decision-making criteria.
Yes. And when I speak about that investment mindset, if you are considering doing this, think about the potential return, think about the hope, the opportunity. What about the question of getting a partner on board? Some people have husbands would say, hey, if it makes you happy and it's not, $100,000, go for it. Others might really start breaking things down and asking, well, is it worth it? Should we be spending our money elsewhere? XYZ. How would you encourage people to bring up the discussion with their partners?
Well, it's a really good question. Yeah, it's one of those things you kind of have to look at it from, from a longer time frame. If you're unhappy, I think this course is cheaper than divorce. Okay. If we want to look at it, from a more facetious perspective, but, yeah, it's difficult because everyone has a different relationship with their partner, and certain discussions are easier than others. But I certainly encourage you to have that honest conversation. If this is something that you really feel is going to, benefit you and give you all the tools that you need just to make everything better, it is absolutely worthy of that conversation.
Thank you. In terms of the areas you decided to focus on, right? So I say the program is a buffet. There are about 12 modules. There's so much. How did you choose your areas of priority? If you want to talk about how we decided to do it together, how I asked you questions, would you like to open up about those areas? Yeah. Focus? Yeah,
sure thing. If I can remember what they are. But yeah, no, I think Kinia, I think your approach to that, it was very effective in that you really helped me isolate kind of what areas I really needed to focus on, and where the areas I felt most challenged in, like work-life integration, I think was the biggest thing, and more the personal branding. Again, I had just lost my job, feeling absolutely worthless in the marketplace. I'm like, how do I even get back out there? But things like, health, for example, I know that's an area that I'm well versed in, and I do take good care of myself. So that was something that I needed less help in. But I have to say, having participated in a lot of that material, it is really good material and really aligns with a lot of the research that I had done as well. So it was, sort of that the survey that you provided, the poking and prodding, and really that self-reflection that really helped me focus in on those key areas. So I think it was work-life integration. That's the only one
personal brand. I think personal brand and the mindset key pieces were huge, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that mindset piece really is is huge because, regardless of what your surroundings are, you get to decide how you perceive them and how you feel about them. And so I think that's the biggest, I think, shift for most folks. Certainly was for me, right? It's the life happens for you, not to you concept.
Absolutely. Yes. That's a big one to shift too. Life happens for you, not to you. I felt like a to me person when I went back to my job after my first maternity leave. I felt like such a victim. Giulia, a few last questions to wrap up. So we're inviting people to take advantage of some strategy sessions until a couple of days where we can discuss your roadmap and whether the program is a fit for you. How was the experience of discussing this? Did you feel pressured in any way? What kind of process was it? Did it help you discover yourself? And ultimately, what can you tell people about that clarity process?
Yeah, it really challenges you to sit back and think about all of these things, right? Again, it's trying to shift that idea of just getting through your day to, what is it? Where am I going? Where is it that I need to go? And so I thought the process was actually, was excellent in the sense that, it forced me to think about it because otherwise I wouldn't think about it. And I'm in a spot now where it's like, okay, I know where I want to go and I see all the tools that are available. I continue to consume the content and chat and strategize. So it's for me, it was absolutely invaluable. I still believe that without this program, I think I'd be still very, very lost and a very miserable person. So I do thank you for that, Kinia. And like I said, I can't speak higher enough of this program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Giulia. As a last question, is there anything, that you had fears about, and how did you overcome those fears of, those final little moments where you're discerning, is this for me?
Yeah, I think, I think at one point we kind of talked about it. There was, that idea of, things could be better. And I just, at some point I decided yes, I'm going to do this. I think the fears were, I'm going to make this investment and it's not going to turn out as it's been advertised, but so far it's exceeded everything. So it really, that little hump was very minor. And now that I'm in it, it's been marvelous. And I'm really excited to, this summer I'm planning to really get caught up on a lot of the content. And I think maybe that's something else we should mention is that, the time expectation, once clients are kind of over that hump and you're in it, are you expected to kind of do this every day? Like, do you have time for it every day? And the answer is, you can go at it kind of at your own pace, which is really nice. And things are accessible. So if there's a particular workshop that's happening at a certain time, you miss it because, you've got obligations, it's available later. And so there's tons and tons of opportunities to kind of do it at your own pace, which I felt has been really, really helpful for me.
Good. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know that time investment is a concern for some people, right? So if they want to reach out to you when I'm not there, then I guess they could probably do that. Are there any questions before we wrap up from anybody who might be here and who might have questions for Giulia or for me since we're here? No? Okay. All right. So thank you all. We will see you at tomorrow's session. Giulia, we hope that the storms are not going to be too bad. You're being hit hard in Ontario. Yeah. So tomorrow we're going to be working on step-by-step planning. Again, thank you to Giulia, to Christina, to Kirsten, to who are here from the program. Most people have been really willing to answer questions behind the scenes about the program because obviously you want to ask when I'm not in the room, right? You want to ask, is this really worth it? Is this really? So feel free to reach out to people who have espresso too in the private rooms. Last two cohorts that we're enrolling, and one in July, one in September, and you can apply using the link that I shared. You have nothing to lose, really. You can talk with me. I want to give you clarity, and if it's a fit, then let's journey together, have fun, and change the world for moms and help you reach your full potential. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks for today.